All right, y'all. So we will go ahead and get started. I see people popping in, and I know we have a live premiere to get to, so I want to make sure we have all the time to get set up for that. I'm going to give one more reminder again. Please, this event is recorded and it will be uploaded and available for future viewing. Captions are available on the bottom, and we do have 2 interpreters joining us on screen. Please go ahead and continue introducing yourselves in the chat. So, hello and welcome everyone who is joining us live and those who might be watching the recording. We are here for the world premiere of Coming Home and a Q&A with Dr. Mónica Feliú Mójer. My name is Daniela Bernal. I'm Director of Member Services at SACNAS. And before we begin, I want to turn my music down just a bit. And we're going to get started today with a brief land acknowledgement. So SACNAS is a fully inclusive organization dedicated to achieving true diversity in STEM. As the nation's largest multicultural and multidisciplinary STEM diversity organization, SACNAS creates space where all members, volunteers, and partners feel like they can belong and embrace their intersectional identities. SACNAS is based in California, which is the original homeland to over 200 tribal nations, bands, and rancherias of Native American and Indigenous people. We would like to take this time to acknowledge the original caretakers of the land in which we all live and work, and honor the rich culture of the Indigenous people across our country. Please check out the link in the chat to learn more about the lands you reside in and that you may visit. Now, I am super thrilled to be the one to welcome you to today's event. I'm going to briefly share a little bit about what we're going to be doing today, and then of course introduce the wonderful folks you see here on your screen, and talk a little bit about how we can interact through today's event, because it is a conversation. So we're going to start today's event with some brief introductions. We're then going to watch the premiere together, and we're going to have some detailed instructions on how to do that as we get closer. After the premiere, we're going to be participating in the live Q&A with Dr. Mónica Feliú Mójer. And so throughout today, we love the interaction in the chat. As always, we encourage you to be polite and respectful while sharing your comments, and please feel free to use those emoji reactions. That's always super fun for us to see. When we get to the Q&A, you are welcome to submit your questions in the Q&A feature, which is usually at the bottom of the menu in your Zoom navigation. If you submitted a question when you registered, we have those. So you don't necessarily need to re-enter them, but you can, of course, submit additional questions as well. Then after the Q&A, we will close with some useful links and resources for you to take with you. So make sure you stay for those. Now, on behalf of SACNAS, I wanted to make sure to acknowledge what an honor it is to be hosting this premiere. Dr. Mónica Feliú Mójer is a longtime SACNISTA who I have seen do so many wonderful things for our communities. And so very briefly, I did want to take a moment to thank her and all the other SACNAS members in the room with us today. And for those of you who may not yet be a member, I encourage you to join us. As mentioned earlier, we are an inclusive organization with many year-round digital opportunities like today's event, and in-person opportunities such as the National Diversity in STEM Conference, of which we will see a little sneak peek. So we hope that you'll stay connected with us for future events. Now it's my pleasure to welcome the other folks we have with us today. I'm going to get started by introducing Dr. Sarah Goodwin, Executive Director of Science Communication Lab. Welcome.
Thank you. And it's really amazing to see you all introducing yourself in the chat and where everyone is from, and the love for Mónica and SACNAS and Ciencio Puerto Rico as well. So I'm just going to say a few words about the Science Communication Lab and pass it along. So I'm Sarah Goodwin. I'm the Executive Director of the Science Communication Lab. We're a nonprofit dedicated to science storytelling, and we create short films and feature documentaries for educational and public audiences, as well as professional development courses for graduate students and postdocs. And hopefully some of you may have taken some of them. You may have previously known us as iBiology, an initiative that produced over 600 lectures on various topics in biology. All of our short films and courses are free and can be found at sciencecommunicationlab.org. Please go check us out. We have a new website that we launched a few weeks ago, and sign up for our newsletter to learn more about our upcoming films and initiatives. I also want to mention a brief survey we'll ask you to take at the end of the Q&A. There'll be a link in the chat, and there'll also be a QR code that you can scan. The responses will be anonymous, and the information will really help us better understand what you took from the film and this event, and help us improve our public engagement efforts. So we are so happy to be here to share this film about Monica and her journey with you. Monica has been a friend and colleague of mine for almost 10 years, and the story captures so many aspects of her career so far, from scientist to champion of inclusive science communication and public engagement. We're also so grateful to be here in collaboration with SACNAS, Ciencia Puerto Rico, and the Rita Allen Foundation. Each of these organizations were key for creating the film and shows the collaborative nature of public engagement. The film was funded by the National Science Foundation and the Rita Allen Foundation. And with that, I will pass the mic along to Andrea Isabel Lopez, who is a Rita Allen Civic Science Fellow with Ciencia Puerto Rico, and she'll say a few words on their behalf.
Thank you, Sarah and Monica, for the invitation to share some words. My name is Andrea Isabel Lopez, and I'm thrilled to be here as the Rita Allen Foundation Civic Science Fellow with Ciencia Puerto Rico. And I want to share some thoughts on behalf of the Rita Allen Foundation, a proud supporter of the documentary we're gathered here to celebrate. For nearly 3 years, I've had the pleasure of working with Monica, the, I guess, force and inspiration behind this project. As part of the 2021 Civic Science Fellows cohort, I've seen Monica's dedication firsthand. She really is all about uplifting the voice of Puerto Ricans in our communities, and also bringing science and society together, showing us how to get communities involved in the scientific process, and making sure that everyone feels, welcomed in the world of science. On a personal note, Monica isn't just a mentor, she really is a role model. And that's really why documentaries like Coming Home are so important. As a young science communicator from Puerto Rico, seeing people like Monica share science while staying true to our culture is incredibly inspiring. And it shows that science isn't just for a selected few, it's for all of us, no matter where we come from or even what language we speak. Coming Home is a celebration of Puerto Rico, of our people, and it is also a recognition of the diversity and the richness of science. It's a tribute to Monica, to her work, to her community, to her family, to her upbringing. And as I look back on my time as a Civic Science Fellow, I'm really grateful for the chance to learn and grow alongside Monica. Her passion and vision have inspired me to keep pushing for a more equitable and inclusive scientific community, and it has also inspired me to continue to be an unapologetic Boricua. So here's to Monica, to the Rita Allen Foundation, and to everyone who's played a part in making Coming Home a reality. I really hope that this documentary continues to promote a future where science truly brings everyone together. So now I'll pass on the mic to a fellow Puerto Rican, Dr. Gretchen Diaz, who is the Director of Science Education Programs with Ciencia Puerto Rico, and she'll say some words on behalf of the organization.
Thank you, Andrea. As you mentioned, I'm Gretchen Diaz, Director of the Science Education Program at Ciencia Puerto Rico, and I'm here representing the organization on this very special day. It is very special because today we'll learn more about a beautiful journey full of dreams, passion, empathy, and commitment of Monica. Monica is a Puerto Rican scientist, communicator, and role model who has broken stereotypes, but above all has opened many, many paths for others. Part of that journey has been forged through Ciencia Puerto Rico, an organization with the mission of democratizing science and transforming science education. Mónica and her work really personify our mission 100%, and Mónica is Ciencia Puerto Rico. For us, it is a privilege to have her. Mónica, we love you, and it is an honor to be with her today, full of emotions, to present this documentary, which we will know will have a great impact and will be a transformative tool for many people, especially those ones who have not the privilege yet of knowing her work, and who through coming home will be, I'm sure, will be touched and will be very, very inspired. Congratulations, Mónica, and the teams of SACNAS and the Science Communication Lab. I hope everybody enjoyed the documentary. Thank you.
All right, I guess it's my time to pop in. I'm gonna try to hold it together. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. It is truly special to be here, to be sharing. Yes, you are crying. It's okay to cry, Juan. It's okay to cry, everyone. It's truly special for me to be here with you all, being embraced by community, sharing this film that is deeply personal to me. I have so many people to thank. Thank you so much, SACNAS, for partnering with the Science Communication Lab to do this premiere. SACNAS is an incredibly important part of my professional journey. SACNAS has been home for me for more than a decade. So I couldn't think of a better partner to be doing this with. So thank you, Daniela, Juan, and everybody at SACNAS for everything that you've done for me, and for making this possible. Of course, I need to thank my colleagues at the Science Communication Lab for first pushing me to make this film. At the beginning, I was a hesitant protagonist. But the team convinced me that there is power in my story, and there's certainly power in sharing our stories. And so that's why we're here. Thank you, everyone at the Science Communication Lab. Thank you, everyone who was part of making this film possible. Thank you for helping me embrace that I am a filmmaker and a creative, and a storyteller. Of course, I also need to thank my colleagues at Ciencia Puerto Rico. You've been such a huge part of my life for almost 20 years. I would not be doing what I do today if it wasn't for the organization and the community of Ciencia Puerto Rico. It's fantastic to see so many friends and colleagues and mentors. Thank you for all the comments in the chat. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to switch to Spanish for a moment because I need to say hi to my family and my neighbors and my friends. Así que hola, saludos familia, amigos, vecinos, colegas. Gracias por su apoyo, gracias por ser parte de mi historia. Este documental es un homenaje a ustedes, a quien yo soy, y obviamente ustedes son una parte importante de quien yo soy, así es que gracias por estar aquí. I'll translate. Try to translate. Thank you, friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, for being here. This film honors many people, many communities that are incredibly important to me. And obviously, where I come from, it's a huge part of who I am. So it's important for me to speak my language and thank them in in my language. I wanted to, before we watch the film, I want to say a few words about why I wanted to make this film and kind of give you a little bit of insight of behind the scenes. Over the last about 4 years, I have been, I've been working in Puerto Rico doing science communication, doing community and public engagement, and broadly putting science in service of Puerto Rico for almost 20 years. I've been, as Sarah mentioned, with the Science Communication Lab for almost 10, mostly focused on telling stories. But over the last 4 years, since the beginning of the pandemic, a lot of my work and my team's work has been focused on partnering with local community leaders in Puerto Rico, and figuring out ways to kind of amplify the things that they're doing in Puerto Rico because of colonialism and institutional failures and everyday crises and kind of major emergencies. There are individuals who are volunteers in their communities, who they step up, they create networks of support, and they take care of their neighbors. And that work has been incredibly transformative. And part of the inspiration for doing this film was them. Mis líderes comunitarios, mis embajadores comunitarios, they've been a huge inspiration for this. And initially, I wanted to figure out a way to tell their story. As I talked with the team here at the Science Communication Lab, one of the things that we realized and that made me see was that one of the reasons why I've been so drawn to that community work is because my story is rooted in community. I grew up in a rural community in Puerto Rico, surrounded by these types of community leaders, surrounded by these elders who put their knowledge, their skills, and their love in service of their neighbors. And so, it became apparent to me, or at least my team made me see, that a great way to honor them would be to tell my own story, of how I am rooted in my identities, in culture, in community, and that wherever I go, whatever I do, those things, those people, the values that they instilled in me, they shine through the work that I do. And so we had the incredible opportunity to film this at the SACNAS 2022 conference, which was in Puerto Rico, which I also had the privilege of emceeing. And that's what you'll see as the backdrop for my story and for this documentary. And there are many different things that I hope that you'll get from this. I hope that those of you watching will see yourselves in my story in some way. I hope that this film will perhaps help you, I don't know, think differently, or in a new way about your own culture, your backgrounds, your identity, your community. I also hope that with this film, people can see or broaden their definition of who's a scientist. I was surrounded by so many scientists growing up, and I didn't realize it until later. So I hope that this film is going to help you think differently about who's a scientist, who has science knowledge, and who can put science in service of our communities and of society. The other thing that I hope that this film will inspire you to do is to embrace your inner storyteller. As I said, I was reluctant to tell my story, at least to tell it in this way. And thanks to mentors and people around me, I was encouraged to make this film, and it's been so encouraging and so empowering, really, to be able to tell my story in this form. One thing that I also want to highlight is that one of the things that we are prioritizing at the Science Communication Lab is making sure that the films that we produce can reach as many people as possible. But we're particularly interested in having our films used in educational settings. And so one of the things that we have been doing has been creating educator resources. And so if we have any teachers, any educators who are watching, we have created resources that will help you use Coming Home in the classroom or in any educational setting. I got to collaborate with a dear friend, Dr. Luis Alexis Rodriguez Cruz, on creating these educator resources. So you'll see them in the chat. They're also available on our website, sciencecommunicationlab.org. So you'll be able to access them and many other educator resources. Those resources are in English and in Spanish. También los tenemos en español. So you're going to be able to access those all for free. Everything that we produced at the Science Communication Lab is available for free. It's on our website. It's on our YouTube, where we'll all be heading to shortly. So we're actually gonna be doing an experiment. I'm a scientist by training, and so this premiere is going to be sort of an experiment in many ways. So I want to share a couple of logistics of how we're going to watch the film, because we're on Zoom and we have different internet and speed. We're going to stay on Zoom, but we're going to share in a moment, we're going to share links to the film. The film is available on YouTube. It's going to be premiering in a few minutes at 12:30 Pacific, 3:30 Eastern. So we are going to go on YouTube to watch the film. So again, we're going to be sending the YouTube links to the film in the chat. So look at the chat in a moment for those two links. There's going to be two. One is going to take you to the film, to the version that's available in English and Spanish. And then another one is going to be have sign language interpretation. So you're going to see those two links. When you go on YouTube, don't click on that YouTube link yet. When you go on YouTube, you will be able to choose the language you prefer for the captions. The speech in the film is going to flip between English and Spanish, but there's going to be captions available. So when you go on YouTube, you'll be don't close Zoom, leave it open while you head to YouTube and watch. And then once the film is done, you're going to come back to Zoom. So just go back to your Zoom window so that you can, once you're done watching the film, you can close YouTube and then come back to Zoom. So I'm actually going to have my colleague Sydney, Daniela, you can stop sharing your screen, and then Sydney's going to share her screen so that she can demo. I know this can be a little bit tricky, maybe a little bit confusing. So we're going to demo for you how that's going to look.
Thank you so much, Monica. I'm just going to demo really quickly for those of you who are new to this. So I'm going to share my screen so you can see my desktop. Oops. Sorry about that. Okay, so here I am in Zoom. Normally I would be able to show you my Zoom screen, but because I'm sharing my Zoom, I'm unable to show you my Zoom screen, unfortunately. So what's going to happen is I am going to click the chat. Oh, can you guys see my chat? Oh, no. We did not think this through. So I'm going to click on the links in the chat, and what's going to happen is it's going to take me to YouTube. You can see my YouTube link. I already have it up. And when the film premieres, in about 3 minutes, it's going to start playing. So make sure you have this YouTube link up. If you are in the ASL interpreted version, yours will look like this. And so I'm going to go back here, and then on each version, you'll be able to pick the subtitles that you would like. If you like to switch to Spanish, you can do that here. And so like Monica said before, please do not close your Zoom. Just leave it open, because what's going to happen after we finish watching the film on YouTube, you're going to just close YouTube and switch back to Zoom, which unfortunately I can't show you here. But also please feel free to join us in this chat that it's going to happen simultaneously with the film. We invite you to comment and share the love and share your feedback, because this chat is going to be archived on YouTube. So we really want to see that community support. Anyone who comes to watch this film will be able to see what we chatted during the premiere. And with that, with 2 minutes left, I'm going to pass it back to Monica.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sydney. Okay, so we are a minute away from the actual world premiere of Coming Home. So again, the YouTube links are in the chat. Choose your preferred version. I think we can start heading over to YouTube. So again, go to YouTube. I'm going to mute myself. You're going to wait a few moments for the film to start. And then once the film is done, come back to Zoom so that we can do the Q&A. I'm really looking forward to seeing your questions and the conversation, and enjoy the film.
I can see that we have a lot of really beautiful comments in the chat, and I want to make sure we have plenty of time for questions. So we are going to get started with that. As a brief reminder, you can submit questions via the Q&A feature, and we will try to get to as many as we can. And so let me just pull up what I got, and then we'll get started with the first one. So Monica, here we go. First question, and I know you talked a little bit about this in your introduction, but for those who maybe are catching up, can you tell us, and the submitted question was, what was your motivation for making this film?
Yeah, well, first I'm gonna thank you everyone for joining. Thank you for the love and all the kind words. It really means so much to me. So the motivation for this, or like really the big motivation for this, was some of the community work that I've been doing over the past, particularly 4 years in Puerto Rico. I've been working with community leaders, and in my journey working with them, I've reflected a lot on and why I'm so called to do that community work, to be in community. And I realized I am rooted in community. Being part of a community is essentially part of who I am. It's an integral part of who I am, because I grew up supported by and surrounded by elders like Don Franco, and community leaders who supported me and my neighbors, and made sure that we were taken care of. And so those community leaders in Puerto Rico, who in my opinion are what often keeps Puerto Rico from crumbling. Like those, they're a big part of the inspiration of the film. Of course, there's so much of my work that is about countering deficit narratives about who is a scientist, who can be a scientist, of really telling stories of how who we are, where we come from is essential to the work that we do, science or not, but particularly in science. And so I think this film brings together all of those things.
Beautiful. And touching on that, kind of who is a scientist, our next question kind of gets to that as well. So how do you reconcile the assumption that objectivity keeps scientific integrity with your emotional authenticity, and how that motivates your work as a scientist and a science communicator?
I mean, I think this idea that scientists and science as an endeavor is 100% objective, it's false. Science is done by people, and people are inherently biased. We all have biases because we're human. It's just part of how our brains work. And so while I think that science provides tools to ask questions in rigorous ways, I think it is essential that as scientists, we accept and embrace that there's no such a thing as being 100% objective. I think we always have to work hard to recognize our biases, the limitations of our experiences and our perspectives, the limitations of what we know. But I think in accepting that we are human and that science is done by human, and thus there's always going to be subjectivity, I think that's how we make science better. And I think humans also have emotions. And so I also reject this notion that or training that's been imposed, I think, on scientists, that it has to be all about the ideas, it has to be all about the work, and you can't be authentic. You can't show emotions. Again, I think science is better when we recognize our subjectivity and our humanity.
Well said. I know we have a lot of people joining us at different stages of their STEM journey. And I think one of the best parts of SACNAS is how we're able to share advice for every step along the way. So this next question is, what advice would you give to the younger you?
Oof. How much time do we have? I mean, I think I want to echo something that I said in the film. Like, I would tell my younger self to not translate myself. I felt, especially after I moved from Puerto Rico to the US, I felt like I had to suppress parts of who I am because it should be all about the science and the ideas and the research that I was doing. And so I would advise myself to not do that, to ignore those who told me that you couldn't, you had to focus on being a scientist and couldn't be Puerto Rican. You couldn't be loud and hug and kiss people. Like, that's what I would tell myself. Do not feel the urge to translate yourself.
Beautiful. Our next question we received here: how has collaborating with the deaf community in Puerto Rico shaped your work and trajectory as a scientist?
Very much appreciate that question. I mean, I think you see it here. It's transformed me in realizing that, I pride myself in that my work is about making science more equitable and inclusive. And you see one of the many ways in which the working with the deaf community has transformed me in the presence of interpreters today. And the fact that for the first time, the Science Communication Lab has a sign language interpreted version of a film. I think working with the deaf community has been the most transformative experience I've had as a communicator. It's challenged me to recognize the limitations of my knowledge. It's challenged me to recognize, that I've been lying to myself. My work strives to make science more inclusive and equitable, but I wasn't thinking about everyone I should be thinking about. And I'm trying to do that, to be better about that now. I still have a lot of work to do. And so I really have to thank our deaf partners, our interpreters and collaborators for giving me so many valuable lessons that I think not only have made my work better, but they've made me a better communicator, and just a better person.
Thank you so much. The next question we have is a multi-parter, so I'll try to keep it as concise as possible, but it's a big one. So Puerto Rico has a lot of young scientists that might be struggling in making a decision because of the limited resources available. Many will like to follow the path that you took. And so the question is, what are the next steps that our senior scientists can take to support the next generation of scientists? Are we on the right track? And is it true we can go home and help?
That's a big one. I'm going to start with the last one. It is true we can go home and help. And there are many ways to do that. I would really encourage you to join Ciencia Puerto Rico. We have, as an organization, we have a lot of opportunities for people to go home and contribute, either by moving back to Puerto Rico or just doing contributing from where you are. I, for example, have lived outside of Puerto Rico for 20 years, and I am fortunate that I can contribute from wherever I am, and my vehicle to do that has been Ciencia Puerto Rico. We have many, many, many opportunities for people to contribute. So I definitely encourage you to check us out and join the community. There's a quote that I really like. It's for Arthur Ashe, who was an African-American tennis player, and he said, "Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can." And so what I would encourage both young and senior Puerto Rican scientists who are watching or who are here today is to think about what you can do from where you are, with the networks, with the resources, the knowledge that you have. I've been doing this work for 20 years, of intensely working with the Puerto Rican scientific community to improve things in Puerto Rico. And I know that sometimes it is hard to think that things are getting better. There are things that are certainly worse. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. But there are a lot more opportunities. I think, particularly the Puerto Rican scientific community is generous. It knows the struggles. And I think, just like I feel rooted in Puerto Rico, there are so many of us that feel rooted in Puerto Rico, whether we live there or not. So I would encourage folks to do that, to start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. There are many things that we still have to improve. But again, I encourage you to join Ciencia Puerto Rico, because we're trying to do a lot of that work.
I see a lot of clapping and hearts for that one. Thank you. And just a quick note for those, because I see a few people have their hand raised. If you have questions for Monica, please do put those in the Q&A, or if you need assistance with anything, I'm sure you can put a message in the chat and someone will be able to assist you. So our next question, I love, and it might be difficult because we've seen so much of what you've done, Monica, but I guess if you have to pick one, What has been the proudest moment of your life?
Oof. I mean, I think now qualifies as the proudest moment of my life. I would say the other one is when I published my first article in El Nuevo Dia. That I'd say I count that as one of the proudest moments of my life, just because it was the beginning of where I am today, of the journey that I'm on today. But yeah, today definitely qualifies.
Awesome. Our next question here is, okay, so what are the current, parentheses, post-pandemic activities of the hashtag Aquí nos cuidamos?
Well, I've got to say, like, we're still in a pandemic, technically. So our work has continued to evolve. So Aquí nos cuidamos is this well-being and prevention project that I've been leading that I mentioned in the film. And we are thinking about how do we promote prevention in everyday. Like, prevention has to be part of our everyday lives, not just of COVID and infectious diseases, but to take care of our health, of our mental health. And so over particularly the last year or so, the project has continued to evolve, to expand its scope beyond COVID-19, which was our focus for the first 3 years. We are currently very interested in seeking funding opportunities to do a campaign and center our efforts around the impact of climate change and health, because that is an urgent topic, I think, for all of us, but it's certainly an urgent topic in Puerto Rico. And so the project is now evolving to address issues that go beyond COVID-19, although we certainly haven't dropped entirely COVID-19 because COVID is still around us. But for example, we're now in Puerto Rico, there is a dengue fever epidemic, and a lot of our efforts in the last month or so have been focused on promoting dengue prevention.
Excellent, thank you. So question about watching the premiere again, of course. So where/when will we be able to see this film again, so we can share it as well? And could this become a series of short films about underrepresented scientists, or was this a one-time deal?
Well, so you can see the film now anytime, as many times as you want on YouTube. So you can go to the links that we've shared in the chat. We're going to be sharing an email to those that register with all of that information. So just go to YouTube, to the Science Communication Labs channel, and you can watch it there. You can also go to the Science Communication Lab website, all of the film, as well as the educator resources. The film transcript is available there. So you're going to be able to watch it as many times as you want, share it with as many people as you want. So yeah, just watch it. Yeah, watch it again and again and again.
I know I will. Excellent. So I think we have time for one more question. And then we'll have some last minute takeaways for everyone watching. So last question we have is, how do you see the landscape of science communication in Latino America and the Caribbean?
I mean, I think there are many challenges, but there's also many opportunities. One of the spaces where I've been working on has been communicating science in Spanish in ways that are culturally relevant to the lives and the realities of people in Puerto Rico. And I know there are many, many efforts to do that in other countries. In Latin America, I think we have lots of ways to go. I would say one of the big opportunities is to do more research. There's an entire field of the science of science communication. And it's really important, like it helps us know what works, what doesn't. And I think there's lots of opportunities to do science communication research in Latin America beyond expanding access in terms of like language and cultural translation of the science. There's a lot of opportunities of doing research, and some of that is what we're doing at the Science Communication Lab, and that's a great segue to talk about the survey. We have a survey. Daniela's going to share his screen where there's a QR code, and you can scan the QR code to go to the survey. And the survey is also being shared on the chat. Please take our survey. This is going to help us understand your perceptions of this film, whether you want more films like this. It's really going to help us in the Science Communication Lab make more films like this and make them better. So please help us do some science communication research and fill out the survey.
Excellent. Thank you, Monica. I know we're at time, but one more big congratulations and thank you on behalf of SACNAS for everything you've done and sharing your story with us. I think the love is very real, as we can see in the chat, and I'm so excited to see what happens next. So for those of you who are still with us, please do fill out that survey. The link is in the chat. I know we've shared a lot of links today. So you will receive an email with all of that information and more. We hope you will join us at our upcoming National Diversity in STEM conference happening this October in Phoenix, Arizona. Registration is open. And again, all the information will be sent to you via email. Again, don't forget about the survey. We really love your feedback. With that, this concludes today's event. Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us in community, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.